Deep in the heart of Haiti, where shadows danced to the rhythm of voodoo drums and whispers of the past lingered in the air, a squad of U.S. Marines found themselves on a mission unlike any other. It was the aftermath of Operation Uphold Democracy, and the Marines were tasked with securing a remote village rumored to be under the influence of dark forces. As they ventured deeper in the dense jungle, the atmosphere grew thick with an eerie sense of foreboding. Captain Harris led his men with unwavering determination, but even he couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over them like a shroud. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of the dead rising from their graves, of ancient curses woven into the very fabric of the land. As night fell, the Marines established their camp on the outskirts of the village, their senses heightened by the unknown dangers lurking in the darkness. But no amount of training could prepare them for what awaited them in the depths of the jungle. A piercing scream shattered the stillness of the night, echoing through the trees like a haunting melody. The Marines sprang into action, their weapons at the ready as they followed the sound to its source. What they found defied all logic and reason. In a clearing surrounded by gnarled trees and twisted roots, a group of figures emerged from the shadows, their eyes vacant and their movements jerky and unnatural. The Marines watched in horror as the creatures drew closer, their flesh rotting and their clothes tattered and stained with blood. They're zombies," whispered one of the Marines, his voice trembling with fear. But Captain Harris refused to give in to panic. With steely resolve, he ordered his men to hold their ground, their rifles trained on the approaching horde. Yet, with each step the zombies took, it seemed as though they were unstoppable, driven by a force beyond comprehension. As the two sides clashed in a desperate struggle for survival, the jungle echoed with the sounds of gunfire and screams of agony. But no matter how many zombies fell, more seemed to take their place, their numbers endless and their hunger insatiable. In the heart of the chaos, Captain Harris glimpsed a figure shrouded in darkness, its eyes burning with an otherworldly light. With a chill running down his spine, he realized that they were not fighting mere reanimated corpses, but something far more sinister, something ancient and malevolent. With their ammunition running low and their hope dwindling, the Marines faced an impossible choice: to retreat and abandon the village to its fate, or to stand their ground and confront the darkness head-on. In the end, they chose to fight, not for themselves, but for the innocent lives caught in the grip of a nightmare they could scarcely comprehend. And as the first light of dawn broke through the canopy, casting long shadows across the battlefield, the Marines braced themselves for the final confrontation, knowing that they were all that stood between the world and the darkness that lurked within.
In the murky depths of the Caribbean, where the lush foliage concealed ancient secrets and the whispers of voodoo magic lingered in the air, an unnamed United States Marine found himself on a perilous mission. A top-secret assignment had led him to a remote tropical island where the infamous Dr. Hellman plotted to unleash his army of the undead upon the unsuspecting world. With each beat of his heart, the Marine could feel the weight of the world pressing down upon him, for failure was not an option in this deadly game. As he trudged through the dense jungle, the Marine's senses were heightened, alert to the slightest hint of danger lurking in the shadows. But even he couldn't anticipate the horrors that awaited him on the island. A chance encounter with an attractive female reporter and a Rastafarian male driver proved to be both a blessing and a curse. Together, they formed an unlikely alliance in the face of unimaginable peril, their fates intertwined by the threads of destiny. But as they delved deeper into the heart of darkness, tragedy struck in the form of a relentless onslaught of zombies. In the chaos that ensued, the Marine found himself bitten by one of the undead, the cold grip of death creeping ever closer. Desperate to save his comrades and stop Dr. Hellman's nefarious scheme, the Marine embarked on a harrowing journey into the heart of the enemy's lair. With each step, he could feel the pull of the darkness threatening to consume him whole. Inside the compound, he discovered the horrifying truth. 4 of his fellow Marines had fallen into Dr. Hellman's clutches, their bodies twisted and contorted into monstrous caricatures of their former selves. But the Marine refused to give in to despair, for he carried with him a weapon far more potent than any firearm. Armed with bullets coated with extract from datura plants, he waged a one-man war against the forces of darkness, his every shot a beacon of hope in the encroaching gloom. With each fallen zombie, he felt a glimmer of victory, knowing that he was one step closer to saving his friends and stopping Dr. Hellman's reign of terror once and for all. But as the battle raged on, the line between friend and foe blurred, and the Marine found himself facing an impossible choice: to sacrifice everything he held dear in the name of duty, or to succumb to the darkness and become that which he swore to destroy. In the end, only one thing was certain. On the island of the living dead, the line between hero and villain was drawn in blood, and the price of victory was paid in souls. It was an average patrol day. With gun in hand, I walked up and down the camp walkway. 14 large buildings were on either side of me, and they each had a garage. Despite the beautiful scenery, it was a rather boring day. Of course, not much is to be expected deep in the remote parts of South Florida. I checked my watch to see when my patrol would be over. Just then, I heard what sounded like cloth moving in the brush. Annoyed, I looked over. "Stop messing with me. Remember what happened last time?" I yelled into the direction of the noise. I walked over and moved some of the brush. Although I saw nothing, I took the safety off of my gun anyway. "If one of you jumps out and scares me, I'm going to shoot you," I said. Figuring I could talk into the radio and detect anyone hiding, I pushed "Talk." I stopped. There was very loud static. "The hell?" I thought to myself. I released the talk button and pushed it again. The static was still there. I figured it was just the radio acting up again. So I pressed the button rapidly in hope of getting to work. But the static persisted. I was still trying to fix it when I heard a strange noise. I don't know how else to describe it, but a low, loud, humming noise. It was emanating from one of the buildings. I raised my gun and approached the source of the sound, cautious, not knowing who or what could be in there. As I walked closer to the garage, I saw a tree move in the corner of my eye. I was conflicted between going to the building or the tree. As I thought, I began to cough. At first it was nothing, but then it became heavier to the point where I couldn't breathe. I was hacking so violently that I thought I was on the brink of death. Then it just stopped. I was crying at this point. I wiped the tears from my eyes, and my vision came into focus. I nearly pissed myself. There was a tall figure facing away from me. I aimed my gun at him and demanded to know what he was doing here. It didn't respond. I told him that if he did not comply, I would shoot him. After that threat, the humming became extremely loud, to the point where I literally could not hear my own thoughts. I dropped my weapon, closed my eyes, covered my ears, and stumbled backwards. I cursed loudly and repeatedly, And when the humming stopped, my head began to hurt. I began to sob softly. I noticed that I was being pulled by someone or something. I looked up and saw a sight I would never forget. The figure had arms like branches wrapped tightly around my left leg, dragging me towards itself. Amid my screaming, I managed to withdraw my pistol and fire multiple shots into the tendrils, but they merely ricocheted off. I flailed my limbs about wildly, screaming as loud as I could, begging for someone to save me. As it drew me closer, I saw horrible images of people dismembered, their limbs being stuffed into bags, their heads put on shelves like prizes. I fumbled in my pocket and grabbed a camera. If I was going to die, I was going to let everyone know about this fucking creature. I aimed the camera at it, and the image began to distort. I took the picture and tossed the phone. The creature became extremely aggressive after that. I began to slide faster, and the humming began again. I was horrified, and as I got closer, the humming got louder and more intense. The images got more gruesome. I began to think of my friends, my wife, and lastly, my daughter. After the image of her slipped into my head, the world just froze. I woke up and found myself in a military jeep. They told me they had found me on the ground and that they had seen the picture on my phone. They sent several soldiers into the woods and said I was getting an honorary discharge. You'd think I would be happy, but I wasn't. When I arrived home, my wife was sobbing. Puzzled, I asked her if she was happy to see me. She hastily replied that she was, but her tears were not for me. Our daughter was missing.
The jungle whispered secrets to Marine Sergeant Jack Reynolds as he trudged through its thick foliage. With each step, he couldn't help but feel like he'd stumbled onto the set of Apocalypse Now the musical. But this wasn't some Hollywood fantasy. This was real life. And Jack was about to face the undead like never before. Worse than that time James Rolfe faced his zombie-like fanatics in that dogshit angry video game nerd movie. That movie was utter dogshit. I mean, I would rather step in literal dogshit than watch that car crash of a movie. So anyways, rumors of voodoo zombies had lured Jack to this tropical nightmare, and as he gazed into the murky depths of the jungle, he couldn't help but wonder if he'd accidentally wandered into a low-budget horror flick. But hey, stranger things had happened, right? As Jack ventured deeper into the heart of darkness, he found himself face to face with the Walking Dead. And let me tell you, they weren't exactly the life of the party. These zombies were more like extras from a Michael Jackson music video gone wrong, with their moonwalking and perverted, thriller-inspired dance moves. Well, they danced similar to that time Big Mike Obama was dancing like a deranged pervert on that Les Boylan show. With a shake of his head and a muttered, "This is some next-level crazy bullshit," Jack raised his weapon and took aim at the undead horde. But even as he fired off round after round, he couldn't help but notice that these zombies were surprisingly resilient, avoiding bullets like it was the AIDS virus. Just when things were starting to look bleak, a voice cut through the chaos like a beacon of hope. It was Marie, a feisty Japanese-Haitian woman with a knack for one-liners and a mean Thai massage. Together they formed an unlikely duo, the dynamic duo of zombie slaying. Armed with Marie's sharp wit and Jack's special marksmanship, they fought tooth and nail against the undead menace, dodging zombie bites and cracking jokes like, "It was just another day at the office." Who needs caffeine when you've got adrenaline, am I right? Jack quipped as he unloaded round after round into the approaching horde. But just when they thought they had the situation under control, they stumbled upon the mother of all undead bashes, the Bokor's secret lair. It was like something straight out of a B-movie, with flickering torches and ominous chanting echoing through the darkness. As they faced off against the Bokor and his army of the undead, Jack couldn't help but feel like he'd accidentally stumbled onto the set of The Walking Dead Spring Break edition. But hey, at least they had front row seats to the weirdest show on earth. In the end, it was a man named Sam Hyde, who saved the day with a well-timed one-liner and a swift kick to the Bokor's testicles. With the undead menace vanquished and the jungle safe once more, Jack, Marie, and Sam Hyde shared a laugh and a high five, knowing that they'd just survived the craziest adventure of their lives. And as they made their way back to civilization, Jack couldn't help but wonder what other wacky bullshit retarded adventures awaited them in the wild and dumbass world of zombie crap. One thing was for sure, with Mari by his side, he was ready for anything, but not really, because Mary left him for Sam Hyde 5 minutes later.